As you can see, I have a lot of acrylic markers, and I keep getting asked which one's my favorite, which one's the best. And I keep having to delay answering this question because honestly, I don't really know. It really depends on your circumstances and what you're looking for, what your price range is. I am, however, going to give you a quick overview of all the brush tip markers that I have. So first up is Artex. I'm going to say anything by Artex is a skip unless you're a complete beginner. Some things about the brand, there's potential that they used AI in one of their sketchbook markers, so I'm still a little skeptical. I also really don't like their products. I find them to be the least opaque, most watery of all of the brush markers that I have, which is saying something because most of these are just all the same product repackaged. Oh, you should try their other markers. I have. They're not great. Langu. This specific style with the brush tip, with where you can see the ink here and the roller ball on the end. I don't know what that does. Don't really care. Aren't bad. The other thing that's kind of nice about the Langu is that if you have like a basic marker pack and you're looking for more of a specific color, they have specific color packs that you can pick up. Generally, you're going to have to pick these up from AliExpress or Temu, so if you have a problem with either of those websites or what they stand for, then that might be a no-go for you. Tuli Art. I really like Tuli Art brush pens. Now, I will say out of all of the brush tips, this Artex and the Tuli Art are my least favorite of the brush tips. Oh, and old Langu, but we'll get there. And here's why. With the old Artex brush tips, they're the longest, so they have like the most unpredictable tip of them all to me. The Tuli Art have a very blunt brush tip, and so you can get pretty thin, but it's just not as nice to use as some of the other brush tips. The Langu, Ohohoohoos, and Shuttle Art all have pretty much the same brush tip, so they're pretty nice to use. I want to specify again, if you're going to get Langu, don't get this Langu. This one sucks. This one's the worst one I've ever used. This one kind of is on par with this. And part of the reason is it's the hardest brush tip ever. So it's kind of, it just doesn't feel like a good, it's just dry. And like this, we have a whole video talking about that. These are the Shuttle Art Automatic Ink Control. I did get sent these. I never made a review about them because they're pretty much the same as like a bunch of other products on the market, like the Ohohoohoos brush tip, the Langu 760. So really just like, find a pack that you like with the colors that you like, and these are mostly equivalent. What's nice about the Langu, the 360, and the Ohohoohoos is that they do have ways to mix up the ink in there. And so something I keep getting asked is like, if your tip ends up looking like this and you can't separate them out, so this is one that doesn't have a shaky, it might be a cotton core, don't know, haven't broken one open. How do you get the ink to not be separated? My very professional, unprofessional opinion, this is how. So you're gonna take it, so we see that's kind of thin like this. And then you're just gonna kind of use it until you get the desired consistency. And here's what leads me to believe they're kind of a cotton core, is because as you use them, like sometimes things come out really juicy and then sometimes you'll like get kind of really brushy. Downside of the Tuli Art though is they probably will run out a little faster than some of the automatic ink flow brands if they're cotton core, as well as they're the priciest option. They definitely have the best color selection of everything. The pastels are actually pastel and delicious. The blues are absolutely stunning, but like the cheaper version of looking for these, if you just want specific colors, would be like getting a Langu set. Original Shuttle Art markers were good for a basic cheap option. I would no longer get these over the automatic ink control markers, specifically because the dual tip on this one isn't great. And they are also cotton core. I'm not a super fan of like the cotton core ones other than the Tuli Art, specifically because of their color selection. Otherwise, the Tuli Art in specific are not like the best brush acrylic pens that are out there. And last but not least, let's not forget our sweet baby Ohohooos. These are actually pretty nice. Again, they kind of follow along with the Langu 720 and the Shuttle Art automatic ink flow. And here's the reason is because you can shake them up. The caps. The only thing with these is that you're gonna have less color selection than like the Langu. This is just a more basic pack, but like look how easy that was to just use straight out of the thing. There was no kind of having to do what you have to do with the Tuli Art and the other Langu, and also have an ink window so you can see when you're low on these, but the problem is that you can't buy them individually, so that kind of sucks. The largest issue with literally every single one of these brush tips is that when you run out, it is hard to replace the color pack, which is why in terms of like cheap brush pens, especially following up for boosters, if you already have like a basic set, I think the Langu is good because it's like $7 for a pack of colors, so that you're not having to buy $19, $20 sets to replace one color. The other thing to note is that between the cotton core and the automatic ink flow will always give you more time to blend. If you like a more graphic blocky look, the cotton core is fine. It's just a lot harder to blend because it's much drier coming out. Part of why I specifically don't like the Simp Tap art markers by Artex, other than the fact that I think this is the thinnest formula, it's the weakest formula out there. I like their packaging, but it just is not, unless it's on like a super sale, there's just no reason to get this. Part of the reason these irritate me is that, like, they act like they're a cotton core, but they don't look like they're a cotton core. They have, like, an ink window. And I don't know, they just perform so poorly, in my opinion. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating that they're, you know, so widely touted and marketed and, you know, a lot of free products going around, and they're just not that good. Like, that is the least opaque. Anyway, I'm very frustrated with Artex products right now. The Grabby brush tips are going to be the same thing. Also, Grabby has some AI allegations. They, you know, have said they won't use it in the future as well. That happened about a year ago, but they had like a sticker on one of their packs that was AI. They took it down and said they'd do better. We'll see. We'll see if they have any further issues. A lot of this is just like fast fashion art products. Like, so let's be very realistic about that. And so if you're just looking for like a basic beginner set, you know, I'd say like the Shuttle art, the Ohohoohoos, or like a Langu mixed set are pretty good. Some people have asked me about the Guingna markers. That's going to be the same as these, and these. I don't even need to test them out to tell you that. They're pretty much all white labeled anyway. And part of the reason I'm not like enthused with that set is that they actually stole some of my content pretending like I made videos with those markers. And I have never in my life used the Guingna markers. So that, I do not think it was specifically the brand that did it, but sellers around Black Friday last year very much decided to steal a lot of art content and just push it out in massive droves. And so that's really annoying. And if you're like, which one should I get? I really can't tell you. It really depends on what you want. If you want a nice like set of pastels, or if you like a big pack of colors because you have something you want to do that's monochromatic, you might want to do the Tuli art or the Langu, but understand these are going to be more expensive. These are going to be a little cheaper until probably tariffs hit. These are like the Ohohoohoos, the Guingna, the whatever. Those are going to give you like the best color pack ranges, and like they have the automatic ink flow. So they'll give you some mixing time. And repeat, the old Langu are garbage. Do not buy them. Do not like these. Do not like these. I had an old video where I thought this set was so cute, but like using it more and more and more, it just is so thin and frustrating to use. I know some people are like, oh, I use the Artex and they're fine. And that might be because you've never used a higher quality product, not to be like offensive in a way. But sometimes people say things are good and they've never actually used like the higher quality product, and so, or they're just not like good enough to actually notice the difference when they're making something. The other thing to note is that when you're seeing these videos about markers, sometimes the artist is really, really good, and so they can make them look better than they are. Some food for thought. Kind of a rambling video. I hope this answers some of the questions some of you have had about which acrylic markers to buy, what to do. This does not include like Posca or Molotov or the fine tip Tuli art, which have their own issues, or the Copic acrylic markers. I tried to just keep this specifically to the type of marker, being brush tips, because I find that brush tips and the fine tips have just very different uses for what you want out of them. The brush tips are so that you can cover big areas, big swaths of area, but also get a little bit of detail and have some blending capabilities. The fine tips are definitely more for like detailing and outlining.